Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be here in Calgary today. Since 1969, Louise Dean School has provided a specialized educational environment for expecting and parenting teens with a variety of wraparound supports. From coaching and counseling to childcare, weekly physician visits, employment supports, and so much more. While the school has gone through different iterations, the goal remains the same, allowing each young parent to reach their maximum potential, which is something the school's namesake would fully support. Faced with declining enrollment and extensive maintenance and infrastructure needs at the previous site, Louise Dean's move to this new site will allow students the safe and caring environment they need to care for themselves and for their children, while also completing their studies and building a wonderful future for themselves and their families. It will also cement the long-term viability of this crucial alternative education program. This is an important decision that has been months in the making. In Alberta, school boards, like the Calgary Board of Education, have the autonomy and the accountability to make decisions about the operations of their schools. And as locally elected trustees, they are in the best position to evaluate and respond to the unique circumstances and priorities of the communities they serve. This includes decisions about relocating alternative programs such as Louise Dean School. I know there has been much conversation in the community about this impending move, and this program means a lot to very, very many people. So this is why on February 6th, I came to Calgary with my colleague, the Honourable Minister of Infrastructure, Nathan Neudorf, to tour the current and future sites. What I can tell you is this move was carefully considered with the best interests of the girls and their children at top of mind. Today, we are here to announce more than $3 million in capital funding support to help ensure the program is here and serving students for many years to come. This funding will support renovations at Jack James High School to facilitate the program's relocation. Renovations will include a separate entrance for Louise Dean students, card access controls to interior doors, the creation of a separate childcare space, and dedicated parking for Louise Dean students. We will also be providing $35,000 in additional transportation funding annually to support the transportation costs for Louise Dean students. The safety and the well-being of students is a top priority, as is ensuring the availability of wraparound supports and services. Students deserve the opportunity to pursue their education in a compassionate and caring environment. And I am now pleased to turn it over to the CBE Board Chair, Laura Hack.
Thank you, Minister LaGrange. On behalf of the Calgary Board of Education, I wish to express our appreciation for the investment in the renovation of Jack James High School. This investment will contribute to the necessary adjustments that needs to be made to prepare to welcome students from Louise Dean School in the 2024-2025 school year. We are committed to continuing to offer programming to support pregnant and parenting teens in collaboration with our partners, Kindred and Alberta Health Services. In November 2022, the Board of Trustees approved the relocation to ensure enhanced learning opportunities, as well as a safeguard and potential growing of a wider range of on-site services and support to students in both programs. Jack James High School excels as a personalized learning community. They emphasize providing authentic, engaging, hands-on, and practical opportunities for all learners. The students here are extensively supported and encouraged to achieve their very best, both academically and personally. This aligns with the philosophy of support provided to Louise Dean students. The renovations, which are expected to start in the coming months, We'll create the space required for Louise Dean students. This includes, as mentioned previously, the learning spaces for Louise Dean programming, a new child minding space to accommodate their children, and office space for partner support. In addition, the relocation will increase the potential for access for dads to engage in programming and co-parenting opportunities. Thank you, Minister, for your investment to ensure the continued success of these students. I'd now like to turn the mic over to Jessica Cope-Williams, CEO of Kindred, to provide remarks.
Thank you, Chair Hack. We're so happy to be here today. I'd like to begin by thanking Minister LaGrange and Parliamentary Secretary Furr for this announcement and your personal interest in creating the best possible environment for young parents to succeed. Knowing that the relocation of Louise Dean to Jack James High School is being championed by the Government of Alberta both affirms and emboldens us to continue efforts with our partners to ensure the very best of our existing model remains while envisioning new possibilities that improve our services. I'd also like to thank Chair Hack and the entire Board of Trustees for their thoughtful process that led to the decision to relocate Louise Dean to Jack James High School. I witnessed personally your care, compassion, and commitment to ensuring that, while the overall number of young parents in the system are declining, helping them complete high school and pursue their dreams is as important as ever. Kindred's partnership with the Calgary Board of Education to serve young parents began more than 50 years ago. We're extraordinarily proud of the duration of this partnership and what we've accomplished together. I'd like to acknowledge the many layers of relationship it takes to make it work for 5 decades. The Kindred and CBE staff on the ground who are problem solving with students every day to help them achieve their goals. The school-based administration and leadership who ensure a balance between academic and personal development alongside development as a parent for all our students. And finally, Calgary Board of Education Administration, who envisioned a new chapter in our joint service delivery that we recognized early on as being in the best interests of our students and our programming. We are confident today more than ever that by working together, we will ensure that young parents will experience at Jack James the same sense of safety, respect, and dignity they've always experienced at Louise Dean, with some additional benefits that make their lives easier and better. I've worked with Kindred for 17 years, and I can tell you Louise Dean is a special place. Favorite time to be there is the beginning of the day, to watch these incredibly strong and often incredibly tired young moms come through the door, school bags and diaper bags precariously balanced on their strollers in good weather and in bad. I've never experienced a more powerful example of courage. Crossing the threshold into adulthood at the same time you're crossing the threshold into parenthood is not for the faint of heart. And we see young parents braving these thresholds every day. Their ambition for a safe, happy, and connected life for their family must be matched by our commitment as a whole community to help them be the person and parent that they want to be. This is why Kindred is so encouraged and hopeful about today's announcement. This is an all-hands-on-deck effort, and today we celebrate the many hands that are committing to young parents for the long term. We can't wait to be here in this building to start this next chapter of helping young parents thrive. Kindred is and will continue to be very proud of the accessible, effective, and innovative programming that we offer with our partners, collaborating beyond organizational and sector boundaries to meet the holistic needs of young parents. There is much work to be done, and I am grateful we will get to do it together. Thank you for including Kindred in the announcement today. I'd now like to invite Parliamentary Secretary for the Status of Women, Tanya Furr, for her remarks.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. As Parliamentary Secretary for Status of Women, I'm so glad to be here today. It's great to be part of today's event, celebrating the continued success of the Louise Dean Centre, an integral part of our community that supports young parents, especially young mothers, to thrive and succeed. I want to thank Minister LaGrange and the Calgary Board of Education for recognizing the unique and important contributions of the staff and programming at Louise Dean and for committing to the centre's long-term success. As Parliamentary Secretary for Status of Women, I know that when we support programs that uplift young women, we are strengthening our society as a whole. Alberta women are the backbone of our communities and our economy. Alberta's government knows that when women have an important part in writing the next great chapter in Alberta's stories, everyone succeeds. When women can fully participate in our economy, our province thrives. Programs like Louise Dean work hard to uplift their students and give them the wraparound supports they need to fully participate. We know that the pregnant and parenting teens at Louise Dean School face different challenges than many of their peers, and they require tailored supports and flexible options to help them navigate through their high school experience. But differences don't need to be barriers, and the staff and students at Louise Dean have worked hard to create a caring, compassionate, and thriving environment to uplift and strengthen these young women. The support these students receive at Louise Dean is setting them up for future success, not only by supporting their efforts to complete high school and transition to the work world or to post-secondary studies, but also by providing them with guidance and life skills to help them succeed as parents. Compassionate care and comprehensive support is the keystone of Louise Dean. I'm proud to be here today to celebrate the center's ongoing success in a new location. Thank you, and I'll pass it over to Savannah for questions.
Great, thanks Emily Furr. We'll now take some questions from reporters. We'll start from those who are here in the room, and then we'll go to the phones. Just a reminder, it'll be one question, one follow-up. If you could state your outlet and name for the record, that'd be great. First on the mic, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi there. We're way back here. Jordan with CTV News. We have heard from current students at Louise Dean that there are concerns about safety when it comes to moving here. I heard you say that safety is a priority, but can you provide some details on what will be done to try to ensure safety when this move is completed?
Well, and if you've had a chance to tour the school here, Jack James, you will see that they actually have a preschool program that already exists in this location. So, of course, safety is always a priority for every single one of our students. In the new facility, there will be actually a separate entrance. There will be a card lock so that students have access to spaces. They can get into the remainder of the school, but most of the time that will be blocked off. There will be a dedicated childcare space directly for those students and their children. I might invite Laura up to explain more of the other precautions and some of the other safety aspects, including dedicated transportation for these particular students. So, Laura?
Absolutely, and I think all of our high schools and all of our buildings, we're always being welcoming, caring, respectful, and having safe learning environments, and that's not going to change. Jack James is a wonderful school with wonderful staff who have our commitment in that, and that will be no difference when we welcome the Louise Dean students here as well.
Another concern we heard was about space. I'm just wondering how much variance will be allowed for differing school population for Louise Dean over the next 5, 10, 15 years.
So the space that currently exists here at Jack James, there's roughly about 450-ish students in the school, and it has space for over 800 students, so you can see that there is room for growth. With the addition that is envisioned, that will provide even additional space and a modernization of space that currently exists. So there will be much space for many decades to come, is my understanding. Obviously, as the school grows, if there's more enrollment growth, then the school division, who has had several announcements over the last little while for new schools, will look at their boundaries, et cetera. But that's an ongoing process. But for the immediate future and for the near-term future, there will be enough space, more than enough space.
Great, thanks, Minister and Laura. Is there another question in the room?
CBC News for the chair, actually. You mentioned that there was a decrease in students. I find that a little surprising. The city's growing. We've generally seen the number of students growing over the years. How is it we've come to a place where they're actually decreasing?
The number of students isn't decreasing in the general population. What we're seeing at the Louise Dean School is that there is a decreasing population of pregnant and parenting moms, and that's been a trend over the last decade or so.
How is that?
They're not.
But the city, you think the population's increasing, the attendance is.
This is just the trends that we've been seeing. We know that the general population is increasing. We've had increased investment here within the city and the province. There are people moving here, but what we've seen is that there is a decreasing population that attend Louise Dean Centre.
And maybe I'll just add to that, just to add, because I have been right across the province. While we have seen decreasing numbers of pregnant teens, what we also are seeing is that when some teens choose to go through their whole pregnancy in their local school, so they don't choose to come to a dedicated space, and we are much more inclusive and less stigmatized about young mums that are carrying their baby to term within their local environment, and we support whatever decision those children make, those students make.
Great, thanks, Minister.
Do you have a number on that? Like, has it over the last 10 years been a 10% increase?
Yeah, we can follow up after. Yeah. Is there another question in the room?
Thank you.
Karina Zapata, CBC News. So I'm just curious about this transportation, that's the dedicated transportation, if you could give us more details about that.
Yes. So as you know, well, I'm a mother of 7, so I know how hard it is to pack up little ones and have to take them on to public transit. The great thing about this new location is that when we looked at where the students were coming from, the vast majority of students are actually closer to this new location than the previous school location. So that will be a benefit. We will be providing dedicated school passes, but also if there's the need for the occasional taxi or whatever, we just want to make it really accessible for these young ladies and young families to be able to access school. So we want to take away the barriers, and if transportation's a barrier, we want to make sure that that is no longer a barrier for them.
So it's essentially just funding for them to get like bus passes and stuff like that?
Exactly, yes.
Sounds good. And I'm also curious, I mean, Jessica spoke to the hardships that these students are facing. I'm curious if there will be, I guess, additional supports for mental health during this relocation?
You know what, that'll be a great question for Jessica to perhaps chime in on. Thank you.
Ensuring that we have wraparound supports that would include mental health support and also infant mental health support has been a priority for this partnership. And so we don't expect those services to change at all. Young parents will experience the same levels of mental health support that they're experiencing in the current location here.
Great. Is there another question in the room? Okay. Yep, go ahead.
With City News. Just a quick question on just when the decision was made, just that relationship with Jack James, the student body and the staff. What is it like? Just want to know from their support when they heard that the Louise Dean location was going to move to this high school.
Laura, that's a question for you.
I do know that our principals have been working together or in collaboration to ensure the space is there. With this announcement, we're able to make that dedicated space, that entrance, and all the things that were talked about earlier. Collaboration will still continue to be ongoing. We know that we're going to have principal of Louise Dean School here, we're going to have the principal of Jack James School here, and there's been amazing collaboration already, so it will continue.
Great, thanks. I think we're going to move to the phones now. Operator, if you put through the first caller.
Catherine Dragowski, Alberta Today. Hi, thanks for taking my question. So I know you mentioned that there's some opportunities for co-parenting with this co-location, but I'm wondering if what happens in a situation where it's the opposite, where a mom does not feel safe around the father of their children. Does she get to have any say about whether that father is not allowed to attend Jack James High School, or what happens in the situation where they don't want to be around the father?
Presuming that the father is in the same school and not in a different school, is I'm assuming your question. Laura, you know, I'm sure this has been faced in the past, and while we don't have administration here to answer, but maybe Laura, do you have any response to that?
Absolutely. This is going to be a case-by-case basis. So I know that the administration will be working with that student. If there is an opportunity and they're looking forward to working and co-parenting, this is bringing it closer to where the majority of the students are coming from. So there is that opportunity. But like I said, it's going to be on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. And I know some of the students had expressed concerns about bullying and harassment, and you mentioned a number of safety measures. But what happens if a student does bring up that they're being bullied or harassed when they come to this school? What's going to be the plan to respond to that?
Well, there's a process in place at every school across this province to ensure that bullying and harassment doesn't happen. It is not tolerated in our schools. There's policy and procedures in place in every school division right across this province to ensure that. And then as Chair Hack had mentioned earlier, case-by-case basis, it is addressed and made sure that the appropriate actions are taken, including calling in law enforcement when necessary.
Great. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate everyone joining us today. I think that concludes our press conference.
Thank you, everyone.